This is a production of the Ultimate Homeschool Radio Network. Welcome to Road School Moms Radio, where education meets adventure. Your hosts, Kimberly Travaglino of Full-Time Families and Mary Beth Goff, the road trip teacher, will share advice, information, and encouragement to bring your road schooling efforts to new levels.
So tell us, we have a special guest tonight. I'm super stoked about it because you've been talking about this for many, many months. So I'm glad tonight's the night. Tell us what's going on tonight. What are we talking about?
Well, I'm excited. I met Sandra Jones-Keller. Her daughter and my girls are actually in a homeschool ice skating program where we are here in Southwest Florida. It's an 8 or 10-week program that runs several times during the year that I got involved in, and her daughter is in there. And somewhere along the line, I guess it was a road school mom actually introduced me to her and said, hey, did you know she wrote a book? You ought to check it out. Mary Jane knows that I've been harping on morning time. That's all we talk about, right, KT? And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and hit the replay from the show that we done in October. We'll put that in the show notes tonight as well, because I'm always looking for something to incorporate in our morning time. And so Mary Jane said, hey, you ought to check out her book. It's, 21 lessons to something. She wasn't for sure what it was. And so I looked it up, and I was so intrigued by what it was. And so I talked to Sandra a little bit more about it. And, oh, my goodness, she is such a ball of fire. I love to talk with her. You just get energized by listening to her speak and talk about her book and talk about what brought her to write her book. And, again, we do morning time in the mornings, late mornings in our rig. And this book we are getting ready to start this week. And I love it. I love what it's about. I love, the thing I love the most about it is because it's not something, you do not have to be in a box to use this book. And we know how many of us are outside the box. It works across all cultures. It works across all religious beliefs. It's just a really fun, good book. And I think you're going to love it. So I'm really excited to talk to Sandra tonight and talk to her about how she came to write this book and how we can all use it in our homeschool.
And I'm here. I'm here whenever you guys are ready.
Awesome. Welcome, Sandra. We're so glad to have you tonight. Why don't you...
I'm thrilled to be here.
Yes, take a few minutes and introduce yourself.
Oh, well, I'm Sandra Jones-Keller, and I am a homeschool mom, and I've been a road school mom as well. We spent about 5.5 months in Hawaii back in 2012. So I've actually road schooled, on the road and absolutely loved it. But I am an intuitive pregnancy coach and spiritual energy healer, and I've been studying and practicing spiritual tools for the last 25 years, and this is how we raise our daughter using universal principles and mirroring. And I was asked to facilitate weekly meditations for her homeschool group, and I ended up calling them mindfulness exercises to cover a broader range. And once I had gotten through several of the lessons, I realized this was my next book because I saw the value in these lessons. I mean, I talk about stuff like affirmations, visualization, beliefs, choice versus decisions. So life skills that, oh boy, our kids can walk away with learning how to navigate and having tools this early so that they can have more successful lives.
Wow, that's really powerful stuff, Sandra, and thank you for coming on the show. The book is titled 21 Lessons to Empower the New Age Kid. So my first question is, what in the world is a New Age kid?
What is a New Age kid? Well, I wrote this book for children like my daughter, old souls who are just wise beyond their years. They are passionate. They're aware of and connected with their divine essence. They're clear. They're certain. They're intuitive, and just naturally forgiving and joy-filled. And some even demonstrate psychic and healing abilities at a very early age. But then there's also another group who I feel are just misunderstood. There's kids that don't fit into the paradigm of education, of behaving the way that we think they should, society thinks they should, and have been labeled as difficult or, let's just say difficult or learning disabled. And, so there are some kids that just think differently. They are very clear of what they feel inside, so they may not be interested in our religions, like their family religion or their spiritual practices or anything, because they're connected. So that's how I define a New Age kid.
I love that. So what is the age range for your book, Sandra, and is it a religious book of sorts?
No, it is not a religious book. When I first facilitated these lessons, the age range was 4 to 17, and the 4-year-olds actually participated fully. Now, the depth and the level of the participation was less than that of a 17-year-old, but they're learning language and they're learning how to ask for what they want. So it's really for kids of all ages, because when something comes up in my life, I actually say, okay, now what did I say in this book? And so I go back to using the lessons that I've written about. And no, it's not a religious book at all. I talk about universal spirituality and life skills concepts. So it fits in with all cultural and spiritual beliefs.
That is fascinating. So how do these short lessons create change in a child's life?
Well, I could breathe into this one. Because we live in a mental universe, everything around us starts with a thought. Everything around us is a reflection of our thoughts, our beliefs, and our vibration, our emotional state being mirrored back to us. So when a child or anyone makes a conscious choice to change their thoughts, beliefs from negative to positive and supportive, they begin to raise their vibration. Their world starts to change. So the potentials of one path shift as their consciousness, as their awareness and awakeness shifts.
So tell me, if someone is not familiar, say, with the concepts of this book, and I know for me when I started reading it, sometimes the words, they kind of scared me, because I wasn't, I didn't know what a New Age kid was. I didn't understand what universal and all that meant. And so, but very quickly, and I know the answer to this question, but I'm going to have you explain it. Someone that's not familiar with the concepts in this book, like myself, can we effectively still facilitate it?
Absolutely. I've written the lessons to be read as is or paraphrased, so that someone who's not familiar with the concept can literally come in, they can read it, there's a definition for every concept, and then there are follow-up questions. So each lesson is divided into 3 parts. You have a discussion, which is an opening question and has follow-up questions, and then even within the follow-up questions, I have answers there. So I have enough information so that someone can facilitate it without knowing the concept or without having to go do additional research. And then each lesson also has a short exercise and a worksheet so that the kids can kind of take it away with them and work on it, in their quiet time.
Very cool. I love that. I can see why Mary Beth was going to use this in her morning time, and I can see that I'm going to be going down the same road with her. Now, I have a child with learning disabilities, as you mentioned in the onset, someone who thinks differently. So immediately when you said that resonated with me. How can you expand on how this book would be helpful for he's an Asperger's child. How would that be helpful for him?
Well, this book is about tapping into the intuitive nature of your child. So it's not that they're sitting there reading. You're having a conversation with them. So the only thing that you may have to really assist them with are the worksheet parts. But you're bypassing all of the personality stuff, and you're getting right into the child's intuitive divine self, which is perfect, whole, and complete. So as you have a conversation with your child, say, for example, let's take visualization, one of the lessons in there. And you start with a question, and then you have follow-up questions, but you're engaging in a conversation. You're drawing out what's already in there. You're not trying to teach and stuff anything in there. You're drawing out. So you get to now have a easy-to-use format to just work with your child individually.
I love that, and I love that the book has kind of its own workbook built into that, and you talked about how there were 3 parts to it, and I know I think I read this somewhere in the intro, that you advise to, have your child have a workbook or a binder, or no, I'm sorry, not a workbook, but a binder to keep their workbook pages in and some of their notes. What are some of the other benefits of using this workbook?
Oh gosh, there are a few, but you are tapping into your child's intuitive nature, and you're giving them language for what they already feel and know intuitively. And you're also opening up access for them to ask for what they really want. For example, my daughter would sometimes go around saying, I'm bored. And I could never understand, how she could be bored. She has a room full of things. She's got friends. But this was actually one of the lessons that she wanted to talk about. She wanted to talk about boredom. I'm like, okay, well, what is it that you want to say about boredom? And she's like, well, sometimes when I say I'm bored, I really just want attention. I'm like, oh, really? So that, opening up that conversation, now she'll come in and say, I really want attention. So it gave her access to just ask for what she wanted. And so as you go through these lessons with your child, it just opens up so many doors and possibilities, and gives your child language and gives you access. Both novices and experts can easily use this because each lesson has parent and facilitator notes at the beginning and the end of the section to guide you. And my workbook provides tools to navigate and succeed in the world. So there are plenty of books out there about reading and writing and science and all that. I wanted to create something about life skills, something that, my child could walk away with and be more powerful in the world. I talk about beliefs in the book, and I'm thinking, wow, if I had known at her age that my beliefs and all my thoughts are actually creating my life, how much more powerful I would be, and the years of struggle that I wouldn't have had to go through to figure out, wait a minute, I'm actually creating all of this by what I'm affirming, by what I'm saying about myself, what I'm saying about the world, what I'm believing about the world. So it's giving them tools now at this age, and whatever age they are, to begin to take responsibility for their lives by who they're being in the world.
Okay, what you just said just totally lit me up. So I want to go a little deeper because I think all road school moms have children who say, I'm bored, and that your child, with the help of these lessons, was able to communicate to you not only that not only was she not really bored, but she was looking for your attention. That rocks my earth right there and then. So can you give me a little more detail how you had insight to create a lesson that would create that dialogue?
Well, it's so funny. I actually started, when I was asked to facilitate, I started coming up with a whole list of things. Oh my goodness, what can I talk about? And then a few lessons, I said, wait a minute, why don't I ask my daughter what she wants to talk about since it's for her homeschool group? And so she's the one that came up with boredom. And she came up with anger and time management and friendship. So these topics weren't even on my radar. So by asking her what she wanted to talk about, it opened up a whole other world for me. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, so we would sit there and create the original lessons together. I said, okay, Mecca, what do you want to talk about? And it's like, okay, well, what do you want to say about it? What do you want to know? And so we created several of the lessons together.
I love that she has such a part of that.
Yeah, but it was really by just saying, what do you want to talk about? What do you think would be interesting for the group?
So how, I guess that the lessons are working when your kiddos start talking to you and you have insight to them. Would you say that's the truth?
Oh, yeah. And, it may take a while before you actually can see the lessons working. When I did the lessons, I was like, wow, the kids just aren't interested or they're not getting it, or wow, what am I doing? And then I overheard one girl say to her classmate, oh, you really need to ground yourself. And grounding in my book is about anchoring, not punishment or anything. And she said, you really need to ground yourself. And then the program facilitator came up to me and she said, my nephew this weekend told me I needed to ground myself. And then the parents started coming up to me thanking me for these life lessons. And so I wasn't sure that anyone was really hearing me, but it took a while, and then I started getting this really great feedback. And so you just have to really trust that the lessons work, because these are not quantifiable results. It's not something that at the end of this book or at the end of 4 or 5 lessons you're going to sit down and take a test. These are life skills and tools that the child starts just incorporating into who they are. You know, I have one lesson on affirmations, and I talk about how everything we say and think is an affirmation, and it goes out into the world, and it becomes energy, and then it creates that thing that we're saying. So, like, what is it that you're saying to yourself? If you go around saying things like, oh, I don't get it, I don't have any friends, I'll never, you know, be able to do this, that is exactly what you're affirming. That's exactly what you're creating. So once you have a recognition that, wait a minute, I don't want to affirm that because that's not what I want to manifest in my life. So you start changing your mind. You start seeing where that negative thought then manifests itself as the very thing that you don't want. And so that's how I can see it working in my life, where I have a shift and I change from, wait a minute, I'm thinking kind of negatively here. Do I really want that outcome? No. So then I bring it back. And so that's what, you know, this book enables we as parents and group leaders to give to our children.
Okay, so you've mentioned the lessons many times. How long do these lessons take?
Oh, gosh, you know, they're designed to be done in 15 to 20 minutes. So they're really short. And, you know, depending on your child or your group or how often you do them, you know, you may want to extend them if you have maybe older kids and they're really engaged in the conversation. And if you have younger kids, you may want to do it in 10 minutes. You want to keep them engaged. So there's no set rule. This is a roadmap. You know, you ask a question and then, you know, if you're feeling like they're just not interested, then make it short.
Well, you know, you're speaking our language. When you said 15 to 20 minutes, I heard all kinds of road school moms' ears perk up. Let me tell you that.
Yeah. I am on Amazon right now ordering it. I'm telling you right now. I'm on Amazon. I am ordering it with my Prime account right this second because this is just too good to be true. I'm so excited right now.
Okay, you can see, Kate. Sorry, I was going to say, KT, you can see how if you're following me over at Road Trip Teacher about morning time and my morning time ambassador, you've heard KT and I talk about it here on the show. This book is so perfect for morning time. It's not even funny. This would be a great way for a road school mom that has been wanting to try morning time and don't really know what to use to get started. If you don't want to overwhelm yourself and don't be complicated, buy yourself this book. And it was a great roadmap for getting started with morning time.
And you know what else I love about this book? So once you get going with it, then you now have a format in which to create any conversation that you want. So probably about, week 20-something with the kids, I went in, and I said, okay, guys, I've been up here talking. What do you guys want to talk about? So, you know, I got some weird stuff, and then one kid who hadn't really participated said, you know what, I want to talk about awkwardness. I was like, okay, who wants to talk about awkwardness? And they all raised their hands. We had the most profound and amazing conversation about awkwardness. And I just followed the format of all the other, an opening question, follow-up questions. I had one of the kids come up with the exercise, and that was it. So you now can take any topic, and, you know, your kids become used to this format, and you can create any type of conversation that you want with it.
Oh, this is more about so the title, again, is 21 Lessons to Empower the New Age Kid, but what I'm hearing is to empower your family, to empower your relationships, to empower your conversations. I'm just so intrigued. Okay, so I'm trying to think of what else to ask you. I'm excited. I'm just buying it. That's it. There's nothing else I need to know. But Mary Beth, how do you envision doing this with all your kiddos of all the different ages at the same time? I guess that's my next question, because that's what I want to be able to do.
Are you asking me, Mary Beth? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I'm asking you, and then maybe Sarah can give us tips, because I want to know what you're planning to do, Mary Beth.
Well, I can tell you that, I know I get on here and I harp about so many things, right? You're used to me saying morning time and all these things, and what's something else I harp on? Interactive notebooks. Well, let me tell you, I've already got my little interactive notebooks all planned out for each one of my kiddos, and all that is a composition book. I love that the actual size of this book, 21 Lessons to Empower the New Age Kid, the actual size of it, it's not a real huge book, and the pages from the book that are the workbook pages will fit into a composition book. So for me, we're going to be using that. Tori's and my younger ones, there's a place for them to draw and to be able to draw at the top and write at the bottom. And so for us in our morning time, this is probably after our devotional time or whatever, this is probably the next thing that we'll do for our morning time, and basically just talk about the lesson for the day. And, if we're talking about affirmation or boredom or whatever the feeling is, one thing that Sandra mentions in the book or somewhere I read that, you can also use this for current topics. You don't have to stick to, the lessons in the book. So if, KT, how often that happens when you get your kiddos together and you think you're going to talk about, the weather, and you ended up talking about, why the meringue on the pie is the way it is. I mean, it's, that's the nature of our life. You think you're going to talk about something really formal and you end up talking about something completely opposite. So for us, I think we'll probably use the book kind of as a roadmap to give us the parameters of what we're doing. And they'll have their interactive notebooks to write the workbook pages down and really just kind of see where the journey takes us.
And Sandra, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, like I said, when I did the original lessons, the age range was 4 to 17. And I would ask a question, and whoever raised their hand, I would call on them, and I'd call on them, and I would, tie it and weave it all together. And like I said, the younger kids were as excited to participate. Actually, they were more excited sometimes to participate than the older kids. And, so the conversation becomes rich because, as a 6-year-old, you have a different perspective than a 13 and a 16-year-old. So the conversation becomes rich because everyone's contributing to the soup. Everyone's contributing to the pot. And every piece adds some flavor to that pot. So if you've got multiple kids, different ages, they all have something to contribute. And by the end, you've got this amazing pot of soup from everyone contributing.
It's just fascinating. Mine will be here on Wednesday. So tune in next week to hear how I have started employing these lessons. Now, Mary Beth, you have some exciting news for our listeners, right?
I do. I was just getting ready. Since you've already ordered yours, I can tell you that if you're listening to our Road School Mom Tonight, and even if you're listening on to a replay this week, we have a whole week that you have to win your own autographed copy of Sandra's book, 21 Lessons to Empower the New Age Kid. And this is how you can win. So go to Sandra's website, which she's going to give you here in just a few minutes. And I'm looking for the question. Sandra, why don't you tell us, because I'm looking for my notes and all of a sudden I can't find it. Oh, here it is.
That's
I'm
okay.
sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I can't find it. You go ahead. Tell us.
Oh, okay. So on my website, I list lessons, what lessons 1 through 10 are. What is lesson number 10?
Yep.
And what's your website?
SandraJonesKeller.com.
And we are going to put that.
Yep.
Yep. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, just my name, SandraJonesKeller.com.
Right. And we'll put that in the show notes and the replay notes for that. So you go to Sandra's website and you look up those 1 through lesson 10 that she lists there, and you just need to email me, info@roadtripteacher.com. Email me what is the 10th lesson in the book. It's one word. So find that, email me, info@roadtripteacher.com. We will take all those emails this week. We'll put all the correct answers into a pot, and we will pull out the lucky winner, and I will mail you your autographed free copy.
Fascinating. Well, I'm just so so excited. And Sandra, thank you so much for coming on and telling the Road School moms all about this wonderful, exciting tool. Yeah, thanks so much. I am hoping that we have a lot of Road School moms that get to employ this tool to empower their children and themselves. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Sandra. See you Thursday.
Thank you. Okay, see you. Bye-bye.
Oh, Mary Beth, I'm so excited.
I knew you would love this. You know, I had this book. I had one of these to bring to the rally up in Sally to show you and share with you and our other Road School moms, and I left it, so I didn't have it. But I knew that you would be excited to get your copy.
Yeah, I am really, really excited. And I think you're right. You know, we haven't, in morning time like you have exactly, we do a daily devotional time with our kiddos. And Blaze and Chris have been doing a social skills, not social studies, social skills curriculum for many, many months called the Smart Playbook. There's several of them available on Amazon. We love them because, as you know, Blaze is on the spectrum, so sometimes social skills, all the time social skills elude him. And so it's great to be able to have just this tangible workbook to work through. And so we had worked through quite a few of them, and then I felt like, oh, gosh, I think it's time for something different. So this is perfect timing, absolutely perfect. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, well, I've been waiting. I haven't really started it. I wanted to wait until we had this show because I knew that you would be as excited as I was about it, and I wanted to be able to kind of do it together and kind of get each other's take on it and kind of springboard from each other. And so if you're doing the same thing as KT and I are and you're in our Facebook group, then please share your experiences with the book and what's working for you and maybe how you're working your workbooks if you have, you know, a binder, or if you're like me and are doing an interactive notebook, or if you're doing any writing at all with it, or maybe you're just going to use the book because, you know, that's another thing I can say about it. I know you haven't seen it in person, KT, but it's such a the spacing in the book and everything is that she's done such a good job about leaving space to write and where they can kind of doodle out to the side, or I don't know. She's done a really good job facilitating the book and making it so that you can use it to actually teach it from the book, but then the kiddos can actually use it as their own, you know, their own workbook. It's all right in there. So I can't wait for you to get your copy. Info, that one word, that the bless.
This is Kimberly, and this is Mary Beth, your Road School moms, on the road where education meets adventure.